Right. Well, welcome everybody to CDFA's Disability Advisory Committee event talking about the organization Canine Companions. I'm Justin Hopper. I'm the chief for CDFA's Office of Civil Rights. I'm also the chair for the Disability Advisory Committee for our department. And so with that, I'm going to turn the presentation and the hour over to Delia from Canine Companions.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, either virtually or in person. We're glad you're here. We've got some information to share with you and a couple of videos. Canine Companions started in Santa Rosa, so it's now nationwide. So why don't we start with the first video that kind of gets you a little bit of an introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide with just a little bit of background information. So Canine Companions provides highly trained dogs for people with disabilities that are expertly trained. And the best part is they're free of charge. And a lot of people don't realize that because you can buy them from a personal trainer or a private trainer. But this is amazing how they do this. They've been doing it since 1975. Next. As you can see on the screen, we've been since 1975. We have 6 campuses across the country. First one started in Santa Rosa, and it's the Charles Schulz campus because Charles Schulz was very supportive of the mission. So they have statues on the campus. If you're ever able to take a tour, I think they have certain days of the week. You can check with them to see the campus tour. I'm Delia Bolander. I'm a volunteer puppy raiser, and I'm also a state employee with the Department of Motor Vehicles. I am on my 8th puppy that I've raised at DMV. This is Gilson, and he's 10.5 months old. He's a little distracted today, so we're trying to keep him on track here. Good boy, good boy. It's been eye-opening as a puppy raiser. You know, you learn more about yourself, you learn about others, as you see what happens with the organization and the impact it makes on people. It is so worth it. And just so you know, they are part of our promise. So if you're, if our promise starts October 1st, if you want to go ahead and put them on your donation list, that would be great. Next slide. Okay, who do we serve? Our clients. We do disabilities other than sight impairment. So hearing, they work in hospitals, mobility. There's, I believe, about 100 different disabilities they serve. Children with autism, folks on the neurodiversity, hearing impairment. It's just amazing all the different things they do. And mobility, of course, people in wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. What's cool, just when I talk about the cognitive sense of it, I was able to visit with one parent who said, do you know what this difference made with this dog for my child? His child has autism. He goes, we can go out to eat. And you don't think about that you could go out to eat and the dog helps ground the child and the child works with the parent to help work with the dog. And he said, it keeps my child calm. We can go to Target. And he said at night, the dog is trained to lay on his legs, kind of like a heavy blanket. And then if he gets up and wanders, then the dog comes and gets the parent and lets him know that he's up and maybe he might need some assistance. So, I mean, it's just little things like that you don't realize how it changes someone's life. And even through the years, I find that I just learn more and more. We also do veterans with physical disabilities and post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the dogs that I raised is with a veteran. And if you know anyone with PTSD, Aretha, she interrupts his nightmares. So she'll take the blankets off, she'll nudge him or something in the middle of the night because his nightmares at night. And she will go in and turn on the light in a dark room because he doesn't want to enter a dark room. And also when he's in a crowd, she will it's kind of like that heavy blanket thing, but she'll put her head onto his leg, kind of that pressure like I'm here. And they are also trained to block in front of or behind, because sometimes a crowd for someone with PTSD can be very disconcerting for them. Okay, next slide. Facility dog teams. I don't know if any of you have seen any of the dogs with the blue vest at Sutter Hospital, UC Davis, but we have dogs that are with handlers like Child Life, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and they help with the patients and the families. And they help these children learn to do things and work on skills. And so right now there's quite a bunch of them at UC Davis and Sutter. And so we wanted to share with you a video about what the facility dogs do.
Our job is pretty intense. You hear about all the horrible things that are happening to these victims firsthand. It's a child who is telling you how someone they trusted really hurt them.
The majority of children, even adults, will never have involvement with the criminal justice system. They'll never have to go to court, they'll never have to be interviewed, they'll never have to come to places like this. This is a foreign environment. The Children's Interview Center, the courthouse, my office, they're strange to adults. They can be terrifying to children.
I am an investigator with the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office. Part of my job is working with victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, child abduction. Bear and I were partnered in July of 2019. It was a huge learning experience. I saw how much time and energy and emotions and love went into all these folks preparing these dogs. It's been an amazing experience from day one to now.
I am currently assigned as a sexual assault prosecutor. I prosecute men and women who have committed crimes against children. In my role, I often have to use Bear to meet these children. Sometimes, if the cases do go to trial, I use Bear in court to help our victims feel more at home and a little bit more at ease if they have to be in a room with strangers.
Bear's most important job is to get victims through probably the most uncomfortable time in their lives. He's worked with children who've witnessed their parents getting murdered. He's worked with children who were harmed by someone that they trusted. Bear definitely makes an impact. Kids like Avery and Aiden, where initially they didn't want anything to do with any of us, they were scared, they were hurt, and then Bear comes in and everything changes.
Bear makes me feel energetic and safe.
When Bear's around, Aiden's a different child.
Bear, he's helpful. It's like when I met him, I think he kind of sort of like put his head on my leg and like, oh, it's stressing out. So I just started petting him and it just started getting better.
Going through the system, it has been made much easier with Bear around to help us. I felt comfortable knowing that Aiden would not be on a stand or anything by himself. He would have a friend with him that he trusts.
Bear is a courtroom dog. Bear has been trained to go under the witness stand on command. He has been trained to sit with that witness on command, to put his head in a certain area, to curl himself up in a certain way, so that that witness will have the presence of Bear, but also so Bear doesn't impact the process.
I don't know how he does it, but he will adjust and curl and move and make sure that whoever is over him is comfortable. He's not worried about his comfort. It's whatever that person's comfort is. The tags he wears, they're very noisy. He was wearing them once, and we had a victim who was 18 years old who was testifying, and she started to have a panic attack. And all of a sudden, I heard this, like the jingles, and I'm like, what is happening? When we were done, she went from like about to panic to, okay, and she continues to testify. So when we stepped out of the courtroom, I said, what happened? And she says, he felt it, and he got up and put his head on my lap. We're just open to continue building relationships with our community, letting them know that we're here for them, wanting to build those partnerships, wanting the transparency, and he helps with doing that.
Bear is just not for kids, he's for adults too. He helps me. I might have to use him.
When I see a child open up with Bear, it truly feels like we're making a difference.
I trusted Janet and Bear because Janet showed me a true side that I didn't know people had.
I see what a difference he makes in victims' lives. I see what a difference he makes in the lives of my coworkers. I see what a difference he makes in my life. He's my partner, and I would not trade him for the world.
Thank you. Next slide. That always gets me because we, see them in the hospitals working with physical therapy and occupational therapy, but also these courtroom or trauma centers. They work there, and believe it or not, they help the workers there because sometimes they're dealing with a lot of people that have had trauma. And, even in the hospitals, there is one doctor that is a puppy raiser that some people will just come and hang out with her dog in the emergency room in a side room just to kind of bring it down. And I think when you have your own pets, you kind of know what they do for you. And in this atmosphere of courthouse and trauma and things like that, they make a difference. And as you can see, they were playing games, just kind of talking, not like desk and interrogation. They do kind of a play therapy to kind of, and then the dog, and a lot of the dogs are, will play pick up sticks games or, do different things. And the child just really kind of is able to just feel calm, and it's amazing what they do. So that is one type of, we have the service dogs, we have the facility dogs. We also have therapy dog teams. Not all our dogs make it into a service dog or facility dog. They just might have something that, we kind of say the dog chooses its path, because some of them are like, I don't want to do it. Believe it or not, some organizations in the Assistance Dog International will share a dog if they think it might be suited. So there's dogs for diabetics. Some of the dogs have went there, or they've come to us. We also had one dog that was raised here locally that became a bomb sniffing dog for SAC PD, Waverly, because she liked that. She wasn't into service, but she was really into that seek and find thing. So it's pretty cool to see what that happens. And some of these, the Canine Companions developed this therapy dog program for dogs that we call them change of career. They're not flunkies, they're change of career. They have good, really wonderful traits. And so as a puppy raiser, if my dog doesn't make it, I can adopt them back. But they also do adopt out dogs for people that they can adopt and it become their dog, and they become a therapy dog team. So there's a whole process for that. And it's pretty cool to see them. Some of them went to the schools where they've had maybe a shooting or something. A couple of our therapy dog teams went where the first responders are in the base camps for the fires. And so it's kind of fun to see that. And some are just, at Sac State during finals. So it can be something a little bit higher, it can be just something that you need to kind of mellow out a little bit. So the facility dog teams are pretty cool. Next slide. So what this is know the difference. A lot of people are talking about service dogs, and it's not just a vest. They don't have to have a vest, actually. They don't have to have a vest at all. You can buy a vest. Anyone can buy a vest, but that for us is doing a disservice for service dog organizations and private trainers that train a dog for a certain task. That's what service, there's a specific task. Like one of my dogs, she holds the paper while the gentleman, he had a stroke, so he can sign the receipt. She picks up his phone. She picks up his credit card. Yes, they can pick up credit cards off the ground. It's amazing. So that's why we want to make sure that people know the difference. I know I have a pet dog, would love to take him into restaurants and places, but that's not the spot for him. Our graduates depend on these dogs to help them. One of our graduates here locally, she's in a powered chair. She does live alone. She has a caregiver come in, but Anakin during the day will close the blinds. He will get her a water bottle out of the cupboard. He will help her pull her pants or her socks off so she can change her clothes. And then when he's out, he will actually hand the credit card to the business person to run the credit card because she cannot lift her arm to that extent. So that's really important for her. Facility dogs, like we were seeing, in the hospitals, in schools, some special ed teachers get a facility dog to work in the school, as far as child reading to a dog, or, learning the task of brushing or something like that, just skills like that. The therapy dog. And then of course, as the emotional support dogs, they have their place, but they're not a service dog. I mean, these service dogs do provide emotional support. I can tell you that's the truth. Even in my office, I have sometimes people seek me out because they just need to pet the dog or look at the dog and just kind of bring down I think they provide service even when they're a puppy, even when they're a bothersome puppy. Okay, next slide. So kind of the slide shows you the difference of parts. We get them at 2 months and they leave us around 17, 18 months. For up here, the closest campus is Santa Rosa. We say goodbye to them, we kiss them, we shed some tears, and then they go into training to see if they're going to make it all the way as a service dog. We don't know what their path is. People ask me, and I really don't know. We put the basic skills for them. So he comes to work with me. I have a co-raiser. She's a teacher. She teaches 2nd grade in Natomas. He goes to school with her part of the time. We go to Studio Movie Grill. Southwest Airlines allows us to fly with these pups. Restaurants, most of them will let us in so that they can experience that. Transit, things like that. We're just to expose them to all sorts of services, noises, types of people, soccer games. The Kings organization has given us tickets and we've taken the dogs to Kings games, Sac Republic. So we just kind of expose them to all that. We as puppy raisers, and I'm going to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine in just a few minutes, we are volunteers. So we do it out because we love it. And some people wait a lifetime for a miracle. We say we raise them one at a time. And to that, it's just worth it for us to see what happens with them. All right, so we're going to talk about another different type of puppy raiser in this next video. And some of you might be surprised, some of you might already know about it. So let's go ahead and show that video. Let's go ahead.
So raising the dog actually feels like just purpose and completion when you do it. It feels, I express such genuine care for the dog, and he does for me back, but the main thing is just knowing that I'm actually doing something to help serve a better purpose. It just gives me affirmation and purpose. So I've been at Hardeman County since about 2016. The next following year is when I became part of the program. And once I got down here and heard about it, I knew right away I wanted to be a part of something better. And this here is Pepper. He's about 9.5 months old. He's very friendly. He's very alert. He loves to work as long as you can keep him motivated. His favorite game is fetch, and he's my best friend. My name is Gary Robinson. I'm an inmate at Hardeman County Correctional Facility, and I train dogs for Canine companions.
I'm glad to be a part of the way I changed lives. Not only for inmates, but for people out here. I've always had dogs when I was growing up. Always loved to work with them. But I never thought I'd be a part of a program like this. So the program here at Hardeman County started in May of 2017, where inmates get puppies and they train them to be service dogs. They, have the dogs in their cells with them. But the warden that we had here had the program at a facility that she was at before, and she wanted to have it here because of how it helped the inmates.
So we live in a pod in a closed quarters with about 16 other inmates who are in the dog program. Each cell has a trainer and a caretaker. The day starts early. What we do here is we get up early and we take them out for a bathroom break at first. Then we come in and we may do 10, 15 minutes worth of training throughout the day. Then we groom the dogs, we de-shed them and do their nails. After we train them and do their nails, we'll take them out and go socializing. I may take them to the library. And then sometimes later in the afternoon, we'll have like a group setting training where we'll train together around distractions and other dogs and things. So we'll let them play and do training with each other around other dogs. That way they learn what's acceptable play and what's not, and how to really train around distraction with other dogs and toys in a closed environment. So playtime they love playtime. It's super excitable. Sometimes we'll take 2 off at a leash at a time just so they'll play fetch together and call and retrieve them back one at a time. And sometimes we'll let 3 or 4 off once they're playing appropriately, but they absolutely love to play outside in the grass. The other inmates here are just astounded that we can train dogs and have dogs here, and the level of precision that they obey and command and focus. I mean, when you walk them up and down the hallways here, all the people just want to pet the dog and love the dog, because some of these people in here haven't been around animals in a very long time. Yeah, it impacts them emotionally, because some of them just get such great joy by being able to pet a dog or throw the ball with a dog when we take them out on a rec yard, They love it. You get such a bond with these creatures, and they truly are a man's best friend, and they teach you how to express your emotions, which is something that's kind of hard for people like us to do here. When they leave, I feel obviously a breaking of a bond, and it's kind of a grieving process, kind of. My first dog was the hardest, the absolute hardest, but obviously it was devastating, especially in 2019. I lost my mom, and it was real hard for me. And I had Opus then, and he was really the only thing that kept me stationary and structured, And sorry. It really helped me to heal and to be able to give that love and learn how to receive that love, which is something that was hard for me throughout my life, and that has truly benefited me Well, the thing is that this job also is very therapeutic, but it also gives us a trade and a skill and an ability to take out to society with us that we can give back to society instead of take away from it. And so it's given me a skill in my tool belt that I can take with me forever. I learned a trade that I never was good at in my life. And I am just, when I first started, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. But I learned that it gave me, naturally, it just came, the ability to be able to communicate with these animals and these dogs and read them and them read me. It really just gave me a tool that I never knew that I had.
So since our program started here, I've had 21 inmates to go home, and I've only had one inmate to return, but since then has left. It's the numbers are amazing with the inmates from the, in the program.
It has taught me identity. It's taught me purpose, and just knowing also that it serves a greater purpose at the end. Yeah, that he's going to go to someone who loves him, and that he can love and help and benefit. It really helps a lot.
The program has been a big success here. I do have a waiting list of inmates to be in the program. They all want to learn, they all want the companionship that the inmates have shown. They want that. They want that love that they can get from the pup. The change that you see in the change you see in the inmates. I see a lot of men becoming leaders. I see a lot of patience, but within the inmates.
And I'm just so thankful that, Canine Companion took the chance and gave us the opportunity to have a program like this at a prison and a facility. It means so much.
When I pass a leash, it's an accomplishment to know that we've done something good for someone and that they will have independence.
Thank you. I love that video because it really shows the impact, just the puppy in the program. The closest puppy programs in prisons, they just started one in Mule Creek, which is in Ione, Stockton, and San Quentin, but they're across the country. There's one, Coffee Creek, that's up in the Northwest that I think has done several hundred dogs through the years. So it's pretty interesting. But now I want to introduce you to my fellow puppy raiser and good friend Bev with Ronaldo, because she has a little bit more insight into the prison program. He's the 16th puppy she's raised. Come on up, Bev.
Oh.
Because we got people online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or you can do it up there at the podium.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here.
I know, it's a new way.
Yeah, you wonder how my dogs learn, huh? There. Now, can you hear me? Okay, run. Side. Hi. Okay, down. Thank you. Good boy. This is Ronaldo. He is named after Ronaldo, a Portuguese soccer player who plays for Spain. I didn't know that until I went to Galt to a school presentation. And the kids, when they said, "Oh, what's his name?" And I said, "Ronaldo." And they all screamed, "He's a soccer player." So we learn from them, don't we? Before I talk just briefly about the prison program, I wanted to go back to the fact that for years we were told that the cost of preparing a dog for service was about $50,000. Now with inflation, I have no idea what it is, but I know it's more. And the client is provided a dog and follow-up care at no charge. So that's something to think about in this grand scheme of things. As puppy raisers, we take on all the expenses: food, vaccinations, toys, collars, uh, everything associated with taking care of the dog. Those are our expenses. Tax deductible if you ever think about doing it. Anyway, back to and also what CCI does when it comes to what they call team training, that's 2 weeks on campus for us in Santa Rosa. The 2 weeks in the dorm is free. That's all taken care of. And as volunteers, we provide all the lunches. So our chapter, the Gold Rush chapter, we do this year we did 6 of the lunches. And the good part about that is that the dogs have been matched to their person. So we get to see them at that point. Okay, back to the prison. I started taking dogs to CHCF in Stockton in 2016, and their recidivism rate is 0. They've had 18 parole. No one has returned. The handlers apply for the job, and it's almost like an oxymoron. They can't have any violence in their background. And that's no violence in the prison, no fights, got to be a good citizen. So they apply for the job and Stockton at the California Healthcare Facility. They live in a dorm. I believe there are 8 dogs right now, but we got to visit the prison, meet the handlers, and visit where they reside. And it's bunk beds, 4 on each side. And so the handlers can use the top bunk as kind of their desk, dresser, whatever. And I can tell you, the handlers are so good and so consistent. Someone is in charge of making sure they have food. They have a whiteboard at the beginning of the dorm that lists everything they do with the dogs and the time they do it, what a dog needs. So for me, the warden has recognized that this is a good program and has asked that it be expanded. That's probably a good thing because one of the goals with Canine Companions is to raise more puppies. The wait list for a service dog can be 3 years. Same for a hearing dog. The last team training lunch that I did was for hearing dogs and PTSD, but 2 of the candidates had come from the East Coast. No, sorry, 1 came from Hawaii and 1 came from the East Coast, just because the wait list is so long and Santa Rosa is a training center as well as Florida. Okay. Do you have any questions about the prison program at all? Right now, I'm on a rotation in that Ronaldo is there for 2 months and then he comes to me for 1 month. And in that 1 month, I am scurrying to make sure that he sees as much as he can. Surprisingly, I live in Rio Vista. It's a pretty quiet area. When I bring him into downtown Sacramento, or what I call downtown, this whole hubbub with construction and cars, he is stellar. He just walks along as if he was on his little country road. So exposure to Sellen's patio and all the wonderful places in Sacramento make my life a lot easier. I wanted to say too, quickly, last year, Canine Companions placed 450 dogs into service. To date, from 1975 to 2023, they have placed 7,780 dogs, which when you think about the number of puppies that are born every year into our system, you want that number to go up. However, the standards are so high that about 50% are released. And my last puppy prior to Ronaldo, Poncho, I thought was perfect. perfect. He made it all the way to team training. And my co-raiser and I were kind of fingers crossed. We're not going to exhale yet, but he's so perfect. He had a meltdown. He had a meltdown and got released. Go figure. So and he's perfect. He's with my co-raiser, loves it. He's so happy to be home. I can keep him at my house. He's happy there. So like Delia said, they choose their path. Why he had a meltdown, we will never know. This guy goes in May. As you can see, he's really high strung. It's just, God, he can be. But when you're thinking about this program, what do you call it? Promise? Your promise. When you think about it, if you can think about the impact on the client and the client's, the circle, whether it's family or friends, whether they're an adult with a hearing loss, with in a power chair, you think of everything that we do during the day that we take for granted. I drop my cell phone, I pick it up. I drop a pencil, I pick it up. I go into a place and there's commotion going on behind me, I hear it. These dogs do all of that. One of my friends who has a hearing dog said, when I got Courtney, I finally stopped burning chicken. And we all, ha, ha, ha. But what he meant was he never heard a timer. He had been deaf since he was 4 years old. And so the fact that someone can come up behind him and call his name and the dog will alert. He doesn't hear, he hears people, he has aids, hearing aids, and he hears people in this range in front of him. So during the pandemic, when everybody was behind vinyl screens, everybody was wearing masks, he was absolutely out of water. He couldn't read lips and he couldn't hear what they were saying, but his dog could. And so whether it's a parent who is finally sleeping all night because their autistic child is sleeping with a dog, from that to the hearing, to the PSD blocking, it goes on. I had one of my dogs went to a young woman who had cerebral palsy. She also was blind. What she saw was like looking through muddy water. That's the way her mom described it. So she first went to guide dogs, but because she had CP and she had difficulty walking, she used, and her mobility was an issue, they couldn't take her. So on a whim, they went to Canine Companions and they thought, well, we haven't done it, but why not? And that dog that she got did everything for her. In fact, everything except get in the swimming pool. She said, her mom said, can you imagine what it's like when Jennifer gets in the pool with her CP? She's thrashing around and the dog would go crazy, running up and down, barking for somebody to come help her, but he wouldn't get in. But anyway, think about that when you're doing it. And there's a wonderful documentary out about the mind of a dog, inside the mind of a dog. And it tells about all of the research that's being done to try to figure out if we can think what they're thinking and if this can be a predictor for success so that our wait list goes down and our graduation rate goes up. And thank you all. Ronaldo, let's go.
Thanks, Bev. As you can see, there's a difference between the types of dogs. This one's a little bit more mellow. This one is a little bit more antsy. So I think the last slide, great. So you can go to canine.org for more information. There's a nice website if you're interested in being a puppy raiser, of course. Justin can share my email with you. That would be fine for donations, or if you know someone that might benefit from a dog, it starts the process there. And like Bev said, Inside the Mind of a Dog. If you haven't watched it on Netflix, I so recommend it. It does profile this organization quite a few times. I learned stuff I didn't even know, and it about your own dog. If you're fascinated with the whole science, puppy kindergarten, cognition, and things like that. So does anybody have any questions? If not, we can just visit with you until it's time for you to go back for lunch. Is there any questions?
So we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
First one is from Jessica, and she says, can you share some of the voice commands that you teach the puppies?
Sure. So let's see how he does with it. Okay. So one of the first things we do is we teach different, we'll see how, yeah, come on up, Bev. I bet Ronaldo will do better. Yeah. All right. So first we're going to do the side command. So that's your right side, right? Okay. Side.
Oh, better.
Yes. Good job. Okay. The next thing is down. Down. No.
And he has to lean into me.
Yes. As you can see, think of you if you're in a wheelchair, you would not want the dog's legs to face towards the wheelchair in case you move. So that's what you want. You want the dog's back towards you. All right, heel. Do heel.
How about here?
Okay. Why don't you, Bev's going to show you here.
Maybe. What's going on? Here. Oh, what a boy.
All right, he came to Bev and then just sat down. So it's pretty cool. And so we teach them to shake, and eventually, hopefully they'll either take their paw to hit one of those automatic door openers or their nose. It's interesting. We also teach them to go under. So I don't know if we have enough room in these chairs, so I'm probably not. Yeah. So we teach them to go under because we want the dog to take up as little space as possible. So he'll go under a table at the restaurant and just kind of hang out there. It's pretty cool. Or under a chair or a bench or a counter. Does that give you some ideas?
Up so they know what a counter is.
Oh, she's going to show you up here.
What a boy. What a boy.
See, he could hand the mic, he could hand the credit card or whatever to the person. The lunch, yes. And one thing we do, we don't let the dogs eat off the floor because if the person drops pills and stuff. So we also test our dogs when we're doing our weekly puppy classes. We'll put food on the kibble, their food, which is what I've got in my hand here, and they're supposed to walk over it or ignore it. Some do better than others or lay down on it, but we don't want them to pick up any medicine or anything that might cause some harm. Is there another question?
There is. So the next question also from Jessica is, what is the process to apply to be a puppy raiser or other CCI volunteer?
Oh, thank you. Well, at canine.org, you can go through that to look about volunteering opportunities. To be a puppy raiser, you also go there. There's a puppy raiser application. But like I said, I would be happy to answer any questions. We have a large chapter here. We have gatherings. They do a home visit. They want to make sure that you're comfortable with what's expected of you. And when you do then get the puppy and you go and pick it up in Santa Rosa, you sign a contract because they own the dog. And so if there's any problem, they can come get it. Actually, they had a graduate once in Reno that wasn't using the dog and the neighbor reported it. And they went and picked up the dog and was able to rehab it and let it then serve a person with a disability. So the dogs are first, their care and well-being is utmost first for the organization. So canine.org and all these videos that we've showed, there's a ton more. If you just Google it, all these videos plus more are on YouTube so that you could share with your family and friends too. Oh, a safe yard. Yes, if you're going to be a puppy raiser. But people are in apartments too. They just bring them out on a leash or something. But I'd be happy to share any or other information. Any other questions?
So I saw a couple come in on the chat, but I'm going to give the audience an opportunity. Are there any questions out here for the live audience? Nothing here. So Jessica had one more question.
Okay.
She asked, how old does the puppy need to be to graduate from training?
Usually the earliest they will graduate is at about 2 years of age, because that's when they're considered an adult dog. But some have stayed a couple months later. The graduations are shown on Canine Companions. You can go and watch the graduations from across the country, and they're recorded. So yes, they're right over 2 years of age.
Initially, if they don't place initially in team training, they can be held back and then go into the next team training. Usually, the training staff has in mind what their clients need, and because they know this through the interview process ahead of time. And they also are very aware of dog strengths. And I had a dog that was held over twice because they knew of someone that was coming who was in a power chair that needed a big dog that was tall so that the person didn't have to turn his head very far to see the dog. So, it's not a one and done.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, either from the chat or from the audience? I know people are starting to go back to the office. Well, thank you everybody for being here in person and online. Just a reminder, we've got one more event for Guide Dog Month next week on Wednesday with Sacramento SPCA's Love on Loan program. And we'll have more dogs and other animals here. Looks like he is having a lot of fun. And don't forget, we are still doing the supply fundraiser drive for Sacramento SPCA. So if you have supplies or other things on Sacramento SPCA's list, please bring them to one of our hubs, and we will give that to the SPCA at the end of the month. Other than that, thank you guys for being here so much. This was a great presentation, and thanks everybody for joining us online. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. His name is Gilson.